Hey guys, how's it going? Here's Tracilyn, Austin and his VCat, and I've been trying, even though, despite the fact that I am sick, to share my life story from the bridge in 2009 up into the Las Vegas years right now today. And then I want to carry on with the Las Vegas, or since Las Vegas up to now, hopefully tomorrow. I'm trying to breeze through it because I am on extremely limited time. I'm running out of resources. So, I've been sharing, before the battery or the memory had gone out in this camera, I was sharing about how I met a gentleman when I was down in Nashville. Later on invited me to his place, and I had the opportunity to meet somebody for the first time that appreciated what it was, my talents and my passions. And it's something rare for me because I've got to be honest, I have not been exposed to anything like that throughout my life. Usually I pretty much, for the most part, stood alone in my life journey, especially with my passions. It always seemed that the things I was interested in life, I wasn't really connecting with a whole lot of people, especially coming out as a transsexual. It seemed to put a lot of division and walls up in a lot of relationships that I had up until that point. So this was exciting. It's very unfortunate for me that my head was not yet healed at that time, if it ever will be. I just have to go with the fact that I have a mental illness, and I just have challenges that are unexplainable to myself or to others. So after visiting there for a brief time, may I say that I wrote a few songs. I haven't written up to that point a whole lot of songs because it's hard for me to write unless the circumstances are. It's hard for me to write with a W if the circumstances aren't right with an R. For myself, I have to be at peace, and that has to be the center of my attention. Even when I was living with my roommate in Ohio, pretty much all I had to do is just stay with the songs. There was no interruption whatsoever when I was in the room. I could stay devoted to that. I didn't have any other worries in the world, no stresses. I was there to get my life straightened out. Since then, life has been extremely confusing to me, and more challenges as time goes on. It seems every time I leave that house, despite all that I was going through, my circumstances would end up getting pretty bad very quickly. In this situation, thank goodness, not necessarily so. It was pretty much the opposite. But let me just say, when you're going through extremely challenging times, and you're really struggling with getting work and everything like that, and at that time I'm not even thinking about, going back into music as a business. Oh, the stresses and stuff like that come along with doing that by yourself. Let me tell you something. I did it for 7.5 years. I have nothing to prove to the rest of the world or myself in it. I realize that you have to change everything about yourself to do it very successfully. And I have to do a lot of cover songs in order to have success at it. And I'm a writer. I really was foolish for believing that there was a God who had a calling on my life to be more of an individual and do my own thing. I was totally wrong for ever believing that. I regret ever falling under corrupted beliefs, because just so you know, some of you may be laughing and thinking this is fantastic. It's not fantastic, but I have to be real too, I was stupid for believing a lot of the stuff I believed. So up to this point, it was great, and I had the first opportunity for me to go into a studio and make a recording. And can I just say in flyby that it was a wonderful experience. The problem was I was sick. And it always seemed when something wonderful came my way as far as opportunities, there was always something serious like that. I can't help it. I can't help it. In fact, my exact words were, I'm sick. I can't do it. And we proceeded forward, and it was a horrible situation for me, only because it's everything I ever dreamed of. And I happen to be sick. That stinks. I usually get sick during the months of October, and usually by December another time, and then usually January, February, and then one more time. I mean, this has been that way all my life. I don't like living in ever-changing seasons. I know some people say that you don't want to live in the same. I do. I want to live where it's sunny and hot all the time. Most importantly, I want to live somewhere where they appreciate me and love me for who I am, not who they think I should be. So, because I'm still in the mindset that I got to get work, and I'm not thinking of music as work at that time. I am now, but I wasn't then. I wanted to stay away from that, and I just wanted to get a job doing whatever. It was pretty much opened at that point. And let me just tell you that running around, and I know anybody who's jobless right now, homeless, dependent on others around you, I know what you're going through, similar. And it's not comforting. They say, I guess you get used to it after a while, but I break out in anxieties all the time. It's not, can I just say, in a world where I could be taken care of by somebody who actually loves me and is supportive of me, that's different. What girl wouldn't dream of that? But I got to be honest, it's nice also. I've been on both sides of the fences to a level, and can I say that it's nice to have your own money and do things that you love to do without having to explain to other people why. Sometimes it's nice to just go into a store and buy yourself new underclothes or just a new pair of jeans or something just because, you know. I haven't been able to do something like that for a long time. And a lot of it is from watching those ministries and stuff. I also brainwashed myself to pretty much accept a whole lot less in life. You know, and I turned away all my passions and my desires. And can I say that living where I did in Ohio, anytime that I would buy myself, even this, I had to be very careful that I never left anybody know what I bought. And, you know, because I was being taken care of for the most part financially. And even when I did get a job where I made a little extra money doing something, there were times, believe it or not, even buying Star, I can't begin to tell you how this teddy bear right here has totally changed my life. She goes with me everywhere I go. I used to keep her in my purse. Sometimes when I'd go down to Nashville, I'd keep her in my purse. And just because you don't understand it, you know, everybody thinks that, you know, the child, I told you I was diagnosed with a childlike mentality. Not that my intelligence doesn't go any higher than what an average, you know, youth would be. And I don't want to insult any youth, but I'm just saying that my mentality, I have a very childish energy, inner spirit about myself. And let me just say that not too many people appreciate that. And most certainly most people do not understand it or want to understand it. They look at it like it's a very controlled. Let me just say that if I try to control it or oppress it, I end up going to extremes the opposite way. So therefore I become a very angry and a very aggressive person, or I become very bedridden and I can't get out of bed. I just want to be myself, you know, and being myself to a lot of people would be more like, you know, a toddler, a 5 or 6 year old kid. And I've talked to countless professionals who said that it's going to be hard on me, but I need to learn how to deal with it because I have a childlike mentality. And it's such a shame that it's not appreciated by others as much. It is when I'm entertaining. It is other children when I'm playing with children. You know, and I have special talents and abilities that many other people could never step out to do because they don't have that childlike mentality. So, and I got a lot of that to share when I come out from Las Vegas. But I remember when I walked into Goodwill, and, you know, that's where I love to shop, by the way. Even if I had a lot of money, I would still, I will always love Goodwill. I didn't shop so much there until I fell on really hard times, and I've just really learned to appreciate thrift shopping, period, in general. I love to go thrift shopping. And one day I was at a Goodwill, and Star was sitting back on a shelf. And I was there, I think, to get work clothes for Walmart, working there. And I gotta admit, by this time, I'm very lonely. And I used to have a white teddy bear that was given to me as a gift from a guy that I figured it's time for me to start growing up at some point, and I ended up throwing it away. I mean, I just tell you that I totally regretted that. I love that teddy bear very much. And so when I seen her sitting back on a shelf in the very back, I noticed the little stars. And I got all excited. And I wanted her right away, I knew it. And I tried to deny it. As funny as this may sound, I tried to deny it. It wasn't very much money. It was only like $2 or something. You know? And even though I walked by it, there was like an anxiety that if I don't grab her now, somebody else may grab her. So I went back and I fought with myself the whole way to the register. And can I tell you, because of things like this, you have no idea the difference it made in my life. Right now, she's with me all the time. I sleep with her. Even my guitar, I sleep with my guitar a lot now. But she rides with me very close in the car. A lot of people would say that it's my security blanket. It may be. But there's something very special about her. To me, it's an energy of some sort. She's so cute and comfortable. You know, when I hold her, I feel really good. So I guess it is a security blanket. But anyway, when I even got her, the gentleman I was living with, no compassion, and pretty much I was wrong for buying something nice for myself. I know I wasn't wrong. It's not like I foolishly went out and bought a whole bunch of stuffed animals and just things that I don't care about. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that I have her with me almost all the time. Even when I was busking or something, I would have her with me all the time. So that's Star, by the way. See the little stars? That's how she got her name. And I sleep with her every day. I'm too scared to wash her because I don't ever want to lose her. I want to carry her with me every day, forever. And it means a lot to me. So even if I would buy what I'm getting at, we're going to sit here. You want to sit here, Star? So no matter what I would buy myself, just something small, very cheap, I was wrong for doing it. I mean, I'm trying so hard to accept that my life is, and while listening to these other ministries and stuff, I'm really believing that I need to take time and just really be thankful and accept my life for what it is and trust that there's a God and He's for me, not against me, all this other stuff. But can I tell you, meanwhile, and I will share after Las Vegas, but my life is spiraling downward. It's getting worse and worse. My circumstances are getting worse. I'm getting beat up all the time. I'm being forced into being a person, a character that I'm not at this house. So I thought about this a lot. People ask me all the time because I used to speak negatively about being in Ohio and stuff. And can I just say that I am sorry for a lot of stuff I said. But I mean, I love Ohio. I really do. And I started there near the end of the last year or so, venturing out because I got to the point that I had to start being happy and doing the things Tracilyn loves to do, even if I do them alone, which is really sad. But I did. Like, I got the opportunity to go up to the lake. And I got to see Cincinnati and Columbus and Yellow Springs. I got to do a lot of things, and I was starting to step out to do other things on top of that. And can I just say that I started finding things that were there the whole time that I totally was not exposed to. And the more that I started realizing, like in my I Know video, that Swati area that's back there, I forget, in Lebanon, Ohio, very beautiful, you know. I started falling in love with Ohio, the landscape of it even more. And a lot of times I was foolish because, you know, I don't know if it was foolish or what, but can I just say I wasn't happy in the home environment that I was in, but I really do love Ohio, and I consider myself an Ohioan, if that's right. a Midwest girl. I really am in my heart. And I wish there were so many different ways that I could have went about life and got my life together. And I wish that I would have realized a lot of things that I realize, as time moved on. But anyway, so we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But here's the thing. So I ended up leaving probably one of the greatest opportunities that has been presented to me. And the biggest thing is fear and not knowing what to do with my life, needing a job, feeling very insecure no matter where I go, because the fact that I went through all this stuff that I went through as a transsexual, note this, that a lot of that has changed now, and I'm looking forward to sharing my Las Vegas years, because it really helped me therapeutically in so many ways that I got beat up for that. And let me just tell you that it was the best thing that I ever did in my life for myself, and ways to help other people as well. But staying with these years up until Las Vegas, this is the same spot that I ended up doing a lot of inner searching, and I ended up finding a butterfly. And when that butterfly kind of washed up on the water, on the beach that I was walking, I ended up holding this butterfly, and it was the first time in my whole life that I felt connected to the entire universe. It was a very magical experience. I can't explain it. It is one of the most powerful things that ever happened to me in my whole life. I felt there was a big part of me that felt like I was exactly where I needed to be for the rest of my life. And then there was another part of me that wasn't mentally healed yet at all. And I was running on, my adrenaline was anxiety, fear and insecurity about everything. People don't understand, I want my life to be straightened out. I want to have a job so I can pay my financial obligations. And so, that's the main important thing to me. I have a child that I need to take care of, and I need to make sure that at least financially I'm meeting my end with that. Not to mention the transition was just so important to me. And a lot of people make light of that. I didn't want to wait till I'm 60 or 70 to get my SRS. I wanted to enjoy life while I'm still young and have my energy to be with men. So I'm secure with who I am now. I wasn't even at that stage because of all that I've been through. Amazing how time has changed just over the last few years. So as I ended up leaving there, I was confused about why am I doing this? Why don't I stay and try? But I got to be honest, I really don't know. I'm scared. Fear of the unknown. So that has stopped me from advancing myself in many different ways, many different times in my life. Even now, as I feel that I'm on pretty much my deathbed, I'm scared of everything. I'm scared of doing life alone. I'm tired of starting life over again, trying to figure everything out all the time. I know one thing, I figured myself out more now than ever before, for the most part, but this whole starting life, where to start life over, how to start life over, how do you survive in a world that is just really against you? I've come to the conclusion I can't, and I plan on sharing that a little bit later. And I will side with everyone else and say I have a mental illness just because that's what everybody else says. Not my doctors. Doctors don't say that at all. Funny, they specialize in that. Society has a mental condition. And many people aren't aware of that unhealthiness of it. So, why are all these weird things happening to me? I have this down in my notes, so I'm sharing this with you. Obviously, I've traveled back and forth, playing around with being an escort. And I guess I ran a lot of times from opportunities that came my way because of various reasons that I explained. Let me see, wanting to relocate. The biggest thing is that I came to the conclusion is that I couldn't do music as a business anymore. Not doing everything by myself for myself is what I tell people. It really was an extreme mental stress that I could not see myself going through at this time in my life. There's no way I could do what I used to do. I was a workhorse. That's all I did. And anybody who knows me back then, I got harassed a lot about that by people who were close to me, because that's all I did. I did my live shows. I was always booking live shows when I wasn't playing. I was always designing my website. I was always working on establishing relationships all the time. That's all I ever did. And there's a lot of other things in life that I enjoy. And I don't necessarily want to be that workhorse living a very lonely life like that. I mean, I always saw myself kind of settling down a little bit and sharing my life with someone special, whatever that looks like, you know? But I didn't want to keep doing life alone like that, especially now that I know I love men, you know? So, let me see. But I did believe in my heart very strongly. It was unclear to me, but I've toyed with this situation of moving like towards New York. I love New Jersey a lot. I like it a lot, and I connected with a lot of people. I used to escort a lot throughout New Jersey, and outside of the Philadelphia area, like Cherry Hill, and I used to meet a lot of near the end of my escorting days. I started taking my guitar with finally. And I would go to open mic nights. I finally started putting together that I need to start doing music. I didn't realize as much as I do now, but I started to realize that I wanted to do it, and I started connecting with people at open mic nights in Philadelphia, in the New Jersey area, and wherever I was. So I was escorting and going to open mic nights now, and writing a song occasionally, not so much, because I was really depressed. I spent a lot of time alone, let me tell you. That's a very hard, challenging place to be when you're doing life alone all the time. I don't do well with living relationships for some reason, but as well, I don't like being alone, all the time anyway. So anyway, and that was something that really meant a lot to me, and a lot of people asked me, what is it that you liked about New Jersey so much? I can't really tell, but when I was first driving truck through there a lot, obviously there was artists and different people that live in New Jersey or have lived in New Jersey, and they were talked about, the state and everything like that. And when I would go through New Jersey as a driver, I started realizing a lot of things, and driving around the country, there's different mentalities, there's a lot of different landscapes and stuff. And let me tell you something, as a transgender lady going to Manhattan, New York, I love Manhattan, New York. At least I did at that time very, very much, because the way that I was being perceived by others, accepted for who I was, and meeting a lot of men. So it was a joy for me to be myself in a big city like that. I always loved the energy of that city. And also, of course, Gunnison Beach is really big there in New Jersey. And I'm kind of an exhibitionist. So that was an adventure for me, and I really loved the beach there. So in Philadelphia and stuff like that. And I made friends. It seemed like the friends I made in that area, although I'm not really in contact with them now, I talk a little bit online or whatever, it always seemed that I got along with people there. And I love Italians very much. I don't know why, but I do. So whether it was going to be New York, is it going to be Nashville, is it going to be a place like Hollywood? I'm trying to feel all this stuff out. Is it going to be down in Austin, Texas? Where is it going to be? I'm feeling very strongly that because of me being a transsexual, despite the fact that I'm feeling led into another kind of ministry, that as a songwriter, that Nashville would be a great place for me to go, because the number one reason is the way the world perceives a transsexual. Maybe there's a possibility some way, somehow, that maybe I could have a song or two songs cut. I believe in the songs, and I believed very strongly that I was meant at least to be there for a season. I could be totally wrong, and probably was. It's probably just my own desires. That's what I desired. And I always had great times when I was in Nashville. People were very friendly. I love it has a little bit of everything there. Pretty much like it reminded me of being in Ohio, only with a big songwriter scene, singer-songwriter scene, obviously. Um, I wanted to do music for fun. My whole concept was if I can get a job and move in with somebody, preferably like a transgendered lady, so I can take my time and explore, a longer term relationship. Maybe I can have a job and then do what I love to do after I get off work. Go to the open mics or whatever, go see bands and connect with people. That was my whole hope. And wherever life goes from there, it goes. But I most certainly make this very clear. I did not want to do it as a business. No more. No more did I want to do that. I wanted to take my time with it and just for once enjoy my life as a whole, being Tracilyn, and do music for the joy of it and not for any other reason. I suffer from extreme, severe, major depression, and my thoughts manifest more and more when I dominate, magnify what I perceive as being negative in my life. It's hard for me, it's very challenging for me to see the possibilities in the now. It's like I can look backwards and see shoulda, coulda, woulda done. And I can try to apply that now. That's why I'm going through my whole life history. And as I'm going through and I'm realizing, well, I could have done that, I could have done this, I could have done that, I'm now saying, well, now's the time to do what I could have done or should have done then. I can do it now. So anybody who knows me knows that right now at this time when I'm on the road, I'm going to open mic nights. And I go to all kinds of open mic nights. I don't go to just where the LGBT community is. And the biggest thing is I never felt in my heart like I was meant to just be in, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I mean it in a very positive, in just a certain category or in a certain box. So I've learned that when you go out in a diverse setting, a lot of times there's a more challenges to overcome, and I want to be able to be strong, to stand in front of anybody and sing my songs. I don't want to shallow down and feel that I can only do it within a certain community. That's very important to me, and it always was important to me. To just be open to play everywhere, not just in some groups, settings. While I was in Ohio in the beginning years, I was receiving a lot of laser. I would have never made it without Kay from Columbus, Ohio. I am very grateful for her. She has been one of the most amazing people that I've ever met in my whole entire life. She has really helped me during a time and get through that part of my transition like nobody else. Usually the electrolysis, electro ladies, and with her is the only one I've done laser with. Can I just say that most of them have been absolutely outstanding. The most friendliest, non-judgmental people I've ever met in my whole life, and they were always willing to work with me under my circumstances. And there were many times that I would lay in these beds and cry my eyes out because my transition was so very important to me once I realized what was going on. And I could have never made it as far as I did without them, so thank you. If you ever see this film, know that I love you guys, every one of them that helped me through my transition. That means a lot to me. I had to fight, even with getting my legal changes were very important to me, the corrections. I don't like to say changes, I just said that, but I mean corrections. From male to female, and I explained some of the challenges I went, like with the high school I went through. They refused because in their eyes I was what I was. When I went through their schooling, they didn't honor or respect the fact that I never was that, and it was just undiagnosed up until now, and all I wanted to do was try to correct things back throughout my life history and my pathway. That means a lot to. You talk to any transsexual lady and or man, they're going to tell you these are things that really mean a lot to them, because this happened at birth in my mother's womb. This did not just happen overnight. Lady Gaga, I was born this way. I was born this way. And it's not my fault that I am who I am. The biggest challenge for all of us is to accept who we are. And the world around us tries to dictate us. And education matters. We're all becoming more intelligent as time goes on. And, the legal changes, I just remember how important it was for me, because in the state of Pennsylvania, if you have gender reassignment surgery, which is now broadening, thank goodness, thank you Pennsylvania, it is now broadening the fact that you don't have to go to the extremes as you used to have to go years ago. If you are psychologically being evaluated and this is true for you as far as being a transgender individual, and you're on hormones, or in a gentleman's position, he's on testosterone or whatever, you're actually seeking out, then it's getting a little bit nicer for us that we can correct our legal documentations. I've always been so sorry, and listen, I mean this respectfully because I do love the state of Ohio, but when it comes to this area, for the people in the community, it breaks my heart, because Ohio will not honor it. They say, however, a person is born and it's written on their birth certificate, that's the way it stays for the rest of their life. And I'm here to say that's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm so sorry that the whole community has to be insulted by that. And I'm believing that there's going to be time of change where the states will start to wake up and realize the importance of having to going back in a person's history and correcting the legal documentations that they have been given at birth. A doctor does not necessarily know. They're looking at a body part and judging whether or not that baby is a male or female, but they have not yet known, because it takes time for one's mind to develop and to evaluate that child to see what direction it's actually leaning more towards. And I don't have a whole lot of time to explain all this, but I just want to say 2 thumbs up, and I love you, Pennsylvania. Thank you. And thank you for all the states that are starting to cooperate a little bit more and realize the importance. This is very important as we make our way through life, because we receive a lot of abuse by pretty much all angles. And thank goodness I was born in Pennsylvania, and there's people really pushing and working with that state to see that this can be possible, and it has been made possible, thank goodness. By that time, I have gotten an orchidectomy, which is the removal of testes. I don't have time to explain a whole lot about that, but can I just say that when I hit a point and I realized my life is falling apart, I wanted to make sure that I didn't go backwards in my transition. That was very, very important to me, and the only way to assure that was to make sure that no testosterone could ever be made in my body again. Just very little. But the producers of it be removed from my body. That's how serious I am about this. And I had to fight tooth and nail to get this done. So much that, of course, I used a credit card. I found a doctor and started connecting with other girls that had this done. I investigated. It's not that I just went out and did this. I mean, I investigated. I looked. I didn't just try to get a good deal. I mean, I tried to find a very reputable doctor. I talked to a lot of different people. I realized that raising $20,000 or $30,000 to get SRS, because I got to get it done by one of the finest surgeons in the world, who actually does it in a very artistic approach. I can't just go for the best price. That would be ridiculous. I don't want to end up in another situation where I totally regret. So this is a big step for all of us. And this was a big step for me doing this. Are you sure this is what you want to do? And my answer to myself is absolutely 1,000%. And because I took the necessary steps to remove the testosterone builders from my body, and I'm still on my estrogen, I don't have to take as much. It's easier on my body chemistry because I don't have a blocker while also taking the estrogen. People argue about this, whether or not this is true or not. I did what was right for me. And let me tell you, I look back and I have no regrets. I am so thankful. I was so scared that I would look like a freak and guys would perceive me as that. But can I be honest with you? Because I had an amazing doctor from Cleveland, Ohio. I love you. You know who you are. He was very cooperative with me as far as pricing. He was very understanding and patient with me because of my circumstances. And can I say that he performed the surgery absolutely outstanding and respected me the whole entire time, not to mention even the scar you can't even tell. And you know, in a lot of situations you can't even tell unless I outed myself as far as to getting that orchidectomy done, that it was done. It may sound bizarre to other people, but it is true. And I wish I had more time to explain, you know, some things like that about being a transsexual, because I stumbled with that. Some people in our community call that a poor man's operation, because a lot of us, we can't afford to raise the money to get the necessary, the full surgical procedure accomplished. It's very expensive, and it's getting more expensive as time goes on. Hard to do when you're making, you know, $7 an hour. You're only working an hour a day. You're working 4 or 5 hours a day somewhere. Yeah. Next to impossible. So I got a lot of the legal corrections done after that. I was so excited. Pennsylvania, as I was going through my life journey in the last couple of years, have really been motivated in making more and more positive changes within the state to help the communities. And I got a lot to say about that with Pennsylvania. I am so grateful for that. And often when I talk to girls from out of state and different states, without saying any states' names, can I just say that I've always been thankful that I was from Pennsylvania for that particular reason. You know, whenever I went to a driver's place to get my driver's license changed, you know, and I mean as far as to updated throughout the every 4 years or whatever it is, or when in this case, when I got my driver's license sex status corrected, I was always respected, you know, very respected, even to the point that when I had my first female picture taken there, even my second one in Pennsylvania, it's like the ladies knew how important it was to me that I look as presentable as a female as possible in that driver's license, and they would work with me to take a couple photos until we picked out the right one for me. And I really have been blessed in a lot of different areas when it comes to my legal documentation. I even said that the judge who honored my name change, how respectful he was to me, and he acknowledged the fact that I was a lady, and he treated me like a lady the whole time I was in there. So I had issues with cops throughout the United States, but when it came to my legal documentations and things I went through within the system in Pennsylvania, I just want and can I just say that I just had a very pleasurable experience the whole time. So I might have had like maybe one small issue or something that got straightened out eventually, and you know, I'm very grateful. The only two things were, you know, the high school and then the truck driving class. And I'm going to say Lebanon County Career School, they totally disrespected in honoring what I requested from them. Total lack of compassion, a lack of understanding about what I'm going through, and they could care less about seeing fit, because in their eyes I was a male and I went to female. But all that was really being done was being corrected, and I wanted to go through my history and make it right, because that gave me peace in my heart and mind. And I'm so sorry that a lot of people don't understand the importance of that. Girls in the community do, guys in the community do. There is some compassion within that, but, you know, Lebanon High School and Lebanon County Career School really did not, they didn't care, you know. It was a waste of time in their eyes. It's such a shame. So as I'm going through this, understand the orchidectomy was kind of anchor me where I was, that I don't go backwards. If it wasn't for Kay and Columbus and some of my electro ladies, I mean, they all worked with me. They all understood my situation. We cried together. We laughed together. We went through all the emotions together. And I would have never made it without their compassion and mercy. You all know who you are. I had electrologists all over. I had one in Rhode Island. I had one down in South Carolina. I had one in Pennsylvania. I had a couple of them in Ohio. And, because I just traveled. And I was always very blessed with that. Everything went well, as far as that goes. My doctors and stuff, it took me a lifetime to finally find the right ones. I really miss my family doctor back in Pennsylvania. I never met anybody in my whole life in that profession that had as much compassion and charisma to help the LGBT community as him. He's a very big heart, very caring. Hopefully, in me sharing my story, I did not offend or hurt anybody up to this point. We got one more sheet, and then tomorrow I'm going to try to do the Las Vegas, or at least watch this, get this uploaded, and then maybe I'll do Las Vegas another day yet. I have some time. So, when I was in Pennsylvania, I met a gentleman through the business that I was in as an escort, and I called him my Pennsylvania daddy. He was there for me. He really was a very non-judgmental man, very intelligent. He's the one that took me out to Hollywood to meet some girls in the adult entertainment industry. And can I tell you, we had so much fun. It was like children. When we would get together, we would play. We would role play sometimes in public or sometimes in the privacy of his home or wherever. And it was more of a friend relationship, and I always called him Daddy, I love him a lot, It started off as seeming to be one of the most unique individuals I ever met, and in the end, I could not love him for all that he had. A lot of the people that I met through my escorting business, not a lot in comparison to everyone I met, but can I say I met a lot of people through that business that I really started having a heart for. Not to be with boyfriend, girlfriend, but that I started caring about, and I would start to write them and call them to see how they were doing. I mean, it really mattered to me. So they accepted me in a way that I was not receiving that acceptance in other places. And I don't regret ever going through that, the business. But I mean, it was for a season, and it's over with now. Music is my passion. I was going back and forth, into Pennsylvania. I was escorting. Pennsylvania was kind of like a relief. I was confused. I don't know what to do with my life. I want to live in Ohio, but it seems that we are all having challenges with, let me just say it, Tracilyn doesn't get along well living under the household with others. And it's not that I didn't try. And I found out in the end, and you got to give me time to explain, but I started figuring out why. The biggest part is if I'm not doing what I love in life, and I'm oppressing everything about myself, it ends up becoming that I become a very miserable person. So that is, I found out what my problem was in the end, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you really quick. Let me see. For me, a lot of the places that I lived at, although they were providing some things that were necessary for me, it was unhealthy. It was unhealthy for maybe my mind strength, where I'm at mentally in life, for a lot of different reasons. Like I said, a lot of things that I've been struggling with my whole life as far as addictions I've been trying to get away from. And it seems no matter where I was, especially when I was living in Ohio, that the environment was ever changing. And there's people moving in and out all the time. And I realized in the end, what you'll find out when I talk about after Las Vegas, is that it takes me about 3 months to get used to other people's boundaries, to get to know other people. It used to take me up to almost 6 months, but near the end, it started getting down to a month and a half to 3 months for me to get to know other people's boundaries and get adjusted. And no sooner did that start to happen for all of us, whoever was living there, then somebody would end up moving out and somebody else new would be moving in. Now you got to start all over again. Everybody has a different perspective, a different idea of the way people should be living life. Very challenging to live in an environment like that. I could never willingly put myself through that again, ever. Just because it's just not right for me, you know. So, I mentioned I don't want to keep talking about that, but the people I was staying with in Pennsylvania, they're dealing with their own things in life. They have their own struggles, and some of the stuff that they're involved in doing, if I'm not careful, if somebody's smoking a cigarette, eventually I'm going to ask for one, and that's going to start up an addiction. If they're drinking, not so much anymore. I can't drink anymore at all, to be honest. I don't object to people drinking. I object to being around somebody who I perceive as being an alcoholic, and that changes when they drink. You know, I just been through a lot with it, and it's very challenging for me to be around it. I like to be around sober, fun, energetic, positive people. So I explained about what I learned when I was in the one facility. You know, can I just say that everything that psychiatrist has told me has come to be true today. I know that it's true. And I wish that I had the movie. You know, I ought to look it up and try to figure it out here tonight. But I think it was The Celloist. I'm not sure. And I could get the actor's name. But that's me. And it would be better for the viewer right now, whoever's listening, to understand it. That's what it is. That's what's going on with me. So I guess you can say I really do have a mental challenge. And the bottom line, if I become whole and healed when I'm being myself in the moment. You know, no words can say how happy I get when I sing, like for an hour or two. When I used to busk on the streets, wow, you want to talk about somebody who had a lot of energy and was excited about life. The things that make me extremely happy, though, are very annoying to other people. So it makes it difficult for me and others. I talked about the curiosity of whether or not there was a chip put in my head. I don't know. And how small is it? You know, you guys can all laugh. I'm just saying, what are the possibilities? Why did I feel violated that day at that hospital? You know, we only know what we know because of what we've been taught. We don't know the other endless possibilities of how we are individually used as guinea pigs. You have no idea. You have no idea whether or not you're being watched right now via satellite. I mean, you can go onto Google Map, and you can see, they say that technology is at least 30 years in advance, that we don't even know it yet. Look at all the technology that's out there. I would believe that it's far more than 30 years in advance, that there are things that are so mind-blowing that if we found out, we couldn't comprehend it and deal with it. You know, so you just go into Google Maps and you can zoom in on that map and see very clearly just about, you know, whether it's cars in a parking lot or somebody's house. Think about the technology that's out there that they can see right through houses and see in your house. How they have technology that they can listen to every one of your words that you're saying. And who has access to all of this? You know, really, who does? Who has access to all of this? And you'll find out when I talk about some things that happened since Las Vegas. Who has access to all that? And what could they possibly be using it for? I mean, you can just use your mind for the endless possibilities with it. So, you know, for a very long time, when I was living out in Ohio, I felt that my life story somehow was being outed and shared. Could I say maybe I'm totally wrong about it, and maybe just because I was so saturated in everything, being online and contaminated with Facebook and everything, maybe I burned out my mind and twisted it so much that what I perceive as the possibilities of people invading my privacy, maybe not so. Well, you look online and then you see that there are other people talking about that. There are things out there where people are monitoring us and watching every move that we do. Why would they have curiosities like that, you might ask? Well, maybe your life inspires them. Maybe they're writers, maybe they're artists, maybe world leaders. And, there's all different reasons to use a guinea pig, I hate to say it like that, but there's all different reasons why people observe others or observe animals and scientific studies and stuff like that. And today's technology, we have no idea what's being done to us or onto us at all, So it's okay to think I'm crazy because I already said I have a mental illness. I have to side with everybody else with this one. So I ended up going back to Ohio to write. I told you about how many songs. I tried very hard to get involved in churches. I still felt like God was calling me into a children's rock and roll ministry. I got involved in like 2010, shortly after, maybe 2011, with a songwriters group that was part of, I don't know exactly what it's called anymore, but it was part of the NSAI, Nashville Songwriters International, I think it is. And can I tell you, I met some pretty amazing songwriters and people, and I always felt so great to go there. I was a little nervous because I was a transgendered. It was my insecurities, but in the same token, I know that there was a diverse group of people that were there, and they were always very sweet to me and always very kind. So if any of them are watching these videos, know that I needed you guys more than anything during that time in my life, and I felt like I was connected, and I would have liked to stay more involved in that, for sure. So I hope everyone there is doing good. I've learned a lot going to the songwriters group, and because of the group that I was a part of while I was in Ohio, I started to get some of my other songs reworked and critiqued. So it helped me to be a better songwriter, and that's pretty much it I'm going to share right now. That's a lot of video that I have to re-watch all of this. I re-watch all my videos, and I edit out a little bit of if I accidentally say a name or something like that, because I don't want anybody to be upset. I don't want to hurt anybody's reputation or nothing like that. Even the ones that I've been through a lot of hard stuff with, I don't want to do that. So know that I feel better getting this out. I want to share up to Las Vegas. Can I just tell you that as well, before I go, in 2011, I think that was the time that I ended up seeing my ice cream art that I am so proud of, and I wish so bad I could have saved the actual ice cream, put it on display somewhere. I just think that was one of the coolest things. I tell you that I want to say this is, I ended up meeting somebody that you could classify as a celebrity, somebody whose opposed father that I admired his work all my life as a child growing up, and having the opportunity to meet this person who was a relative of the person's work that I admired was an overwhelming experience for me. And can I say that I was really excited to have that opportunity. And in short, I just want to say that here's another reason that emotionally I was hurt, is because I was excited to have somebody that set you as a friend, to know them. And at some point, I do realize that in a lot of situations, there's been a lot of head games that have been played with me. I guess for all of us, we all go through a lot of mind games. A lot of people like to play games. I guess I kind of take life a little more serious than that, and I don't necessarily want to purposely go out and try to twist somebody's mind or emotionally hurt them. But can I just say that it was a great disappointment for me that here's a situation that happened is I was very interested in being supportive of this person's art and getting to know them. And can I say that I had the opportunity to also meet acquaintances of this individual and another gentleman. And can I say that as I got to know this other gentleman very briefly, very quickly, this all happened in a small time frame, that I ended up getting a phone call and talking to this one guy who was a friend of the gentleman I'm talking about. This might be confusing. I'm trying not to use names. And can I just say that whether it was true or not, he at least pretended like he didn't know that I was a transsexual. And because at that time in my life, I wasn't so out there telling everybody, I didn't want to go through my life actually shouting it out to everybody I meet. And eventually that wears you out and it tires you out. And mentally in every way, it really does. It takes a toll on you. And so anyway, we're talking about going somewhere to be supportive of this gentleman that I ended up having the opportunity to meet. And can I tell you that because the conversation that was going on the phone, I really did not think that he knew that I was a transsexual. So I ended up calling this other individual up that I was telling you about that I was excited to meet. It's a relative of somebody whose work I admired throughout my life. And they kind of chuckled about it. I guess they thought it was funny. And I'm like, well, why do you have to tell him, that you're a transsexual? Why can't you just, come out and have a good time and what have you? And I mentioned about our conversation about things that he was saying, and to me in that whole situation, can I just say without giving any of the details, that it hurt me greatly because I felt like it was people playing a major head game with me, and I was being made a joke of. That hurt me a lot. And I understand, being little growing up, how guys are to girls in general. So I don't know how to take it if it was just because I was, transgendered, if I was a freak to these people, or if they perceived me as that, or if, they were just being guys, and guys sometimes, though they mean well, unintentionally end up hurting girls because they play games or what have you. I don't know how to perceive it. I really don't to this day, but I just know that it affected me greatly at that time. I would never give anybody or a group of people that kind of power anymore to hurt me, because it's just very expected in human nature. And I've learned a lot since then, and but it hurt at that time. Excuse me. My head wasn't right, and I was wavering in and out of a lot of things, and that hurt. So I'm sharing that with you because understand, I'm sharing my life story of the great things, and I'm trying to give praises and stuff like that, but in the same token, I'm also saying notice this. As I went through life, all the stuff that I went through, and now in Ohio, my twistedness of my home environment is I'm receiving the physical things that I need, but in the inner spirit and the emotional support that I need is in complete opposition. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I'm tired of walking around telling everybody I'm a transsexual and getting into disputes as to whether or not it's right for me to be who I am. I am who I am. People, whether they have a choice to accept it or not accept it, obviously, most people do not want to accept it. They don't want to accept it because of what they've been taught since birth. Now, the younger generation, of course, is beginning to change, and that's the way it continues to go. And then the next generation, it'll be something different. Right now, the LGBT is starting to rise up, and new generations coming along and saying that being bullied in general is ridiculous. And there's different levels of bully, And I went through a majority of it. And even when you fall attraction to somebody that when you're attracted to somebody, and like I said, guys being guys, and whether they meant to hurt me or not to hurt me, that's still another form of bullying and hurting somebody. The last thing I need in my life is people to intentionally try to hurt me. So now I just realize that that's just the way things are, and they continue to go throughout my whole life. Can I just say that in ending with this, in 2011, because 2012 starts my trip out to Las Vegas, can I tell you that everything was so unclear to me, but I did know this. I had so many spiritual encounters, even so much that I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, staring out a window, and praying for God to bring a human into my life. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of details, but it was a specific in my explanation of the kind of human that would come to me. And can I tell you that eventually that this person, within a brief time from that prayer, had come into my life? So, I mean, there is a lot. When people ask me, what do I believe? Am I a Christian or not a Christian? I would say I'm not a Christian. I am a believer only because I cannot not believe. I've been brainwashed throughout my life, whether I did it myself or through the sources of others. I cannot not believe. But I can say that through my experience, especially since Las Vegas, that I realize that a majority of what has been taught to me is nothing but lies. And I realized that the reason why I lost everything in my life was because I was believing in a power that was outside my body, that does not exist, that which the Christian faith calls God. Okay? So that whole belief, false belief that we are disconnected, I would have to say that we are never disconnected, that we are all one. We are all united, but we're taught division, so all these labels are slapped around us. Whether it's gender or sexuality, male, female, all of this. We are all labeled with a whole bunch of different things. And this transgendered, if you will, being a transsexual lady, why can't I just be a very femme spirit? And why not, because I identify more with a woman, why not just be myself and be Tracilyn? Why fall under all these other categories? And to be honest with you, why should any transsexual person, individual, change everything about themselves to try to blend in with a society that has slapped a label and said, this is boy, this is girl? There is so much education that still needs to come forth, and we're all kind of stumbling through our life journeys and putting all this together. And I'll tell you what, when you're a free spirit, and you tap into the realness of who you are. And it's under this illusion of what is supposed to be and what's right and what's wrong. It's the most challenging thing. I know I'm not strong enough to go through it anymore. I would never want to repeat my life journey ever. And I know for a simple fact, because of my blessings, of my overall appearance and my personality, and so on and so forth, and the people I did come in contact with, and this generation, I had it a lot less challenging than a lot of the other girls in our community. Every generation it's getting better. There's no doubt about it. It's very unfortunate for me that I have all the talent that I have, and yet mentally, I guess you could say, I have so many struggles. And I had to endure and go through all this stuff on a continual basis. I gotta be honest, there's times that I'm almost absolutely terrified to step out a door and just go and live my life, because it seems that in general, people don't want you to be happy. Did you ever feel that way? It's like you could smile enough to light up an entire city and just be excited to be alive, and you're going to be a target for everybody smashing you and ridiculing you for that. I can't keep living that way. You know? So I'm going to wrap this up right now. We got up to 2011. By this time, I'm working at Walmart. I'm being made fun of on a regular basis because I cannot get a job, even though I've asked everybody to reached out for help. In the eyes of everyone else, I should have had my life together in 2 to 6 weeks. And can I tell you, years. And even when I came back from Las Vegas, I need at least 5 to 10 years to get to the point that I can actually live a very comfortable life. If. But to expect that I would get my life together in just a couple weeks, a couple months, or even a year, and you'll find out that when I came back, my exact words were, it's going to take me 2 years to figure things out. And I got to say that, unfortunately for me, time is not on my side, because I started for the first time in my life figuring things out since Las Vegas. And no sooner, it's one of those things, do I start stepping up to the plate to try to make my life healthier and better for everyone around me, and including myself especially. An obstacle comes down and smashes me. So once you fall into the barrel, it's almost next to impossible to get out of. Because it seems that's when humans stand around you and they step on your fingers for trying to reach out, or they take sticks and push you back into the hole in the ground. It's like they don't want you to achieve, getting out of the place that you've fallen into. And let me just say that I've received so much criticism because of my choices that I've made. But looking at where I was through examining my life story, I did the best I could, and I made the right choices for me in the moment. And you will find out that even up until when I just left Ohio in October, I make my choices with the immediate information that's given to me. Unfortunately, I can't help it if it's an illusion of lies that I'm making the choice off of. I have no way of dictating that. I have no way of knowing that. And you'll find out when I get to explain that in a little bit later. But can I tell you that my head is spinning. I have absolutely nobody in my life that I can fully trust. I'm here right now in a hotel room. I'm living on a credit card. I refuse to live on the streets. I've fallen to this level. For the first time in my life in a long time, I got out of debt. It was only a matter of time, a few years. And I would have never had to look back, and I would have been whole and complete, being Tracilyn and doing a career, living a life that's right for me, that would have been beneficial to others in a healthier way. It's very unfortunate for me that time was not on my side. And I just got to say that I oppressed myself to the best of my ability, and it was destroying me to the point that I couldn't handle anymore. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you on another day. This has been way too long. I'm sorry that, all I can do is talk. I'm not really sorry, but I'm sorry for myself because I got to watch all of this again before I upload it. So it could take me a while. I want nothing more in life, is what I realized, is for me to be who I am in my heart, outward. And not only do I want that, but to have healthy relationships that actually appreciate and value who the real Tracilyn is. And can I tell you, that's a fairy tale. That's a fantasy world that is non-existent for me. So, I'm running out of time and I'm running out of resources. If I were to allow myself to end up on the street, because I've fallen at this level and I could never get up, rise up out of it, I guarantee myself, I mean, I'm just being honest with myself, mentally I could never handle it. And number two, if I ever allow myself to become absolutely homeless and living on the street, the worst things in life would happen to me, and I would never, ever come out of it either alive or ever come out of it, period. I can't let that happen to me. I've been through enough in my life because I said I have. The biggest mistake that I ever made, and I'm going to keep saying this, is getting involved in Christianity. It warped my mind. It warped my mind, and the biggest thing is I was desperate. I was desperate for a life that I perceived as being better. And for me, not on this planet, not in this lifetime. And when I start talking about after Las Vegas, you'll find out that I feel very strongly that it's like I landed on the wrong planet. And I struggle because I think to myself, maybe you can say, well, you think too high of yourself, but I think out of all the people that I have met throughout life's journey, that I would be one of the ones least likely not to be loved and live in a healthy home environment. But I'm sure many people that you would talk to who have met me or lived with me would tell you much differently. But that's why I'm looking forward to sharing to after Las Vegas. You know, I've been in unhealthy relationships my whole life because I have not been true to who I was. And for the first time in my life I was, and I received a great opposition with it. I don't regret ever experiencing it because for the first time in my life I got to kiss a mirror. I fell in love with myself. I started to enjoy my life. I'm not enjoying my life anymore. I'm miserable. So this is kind of like my goodbye video. And I hope in sharing my life story and at least giving it a shot one last time, that I really do hope it helps somebody. Because then it was all worth it. So I love you guys, and I apologize for everything. If anybody was hurt in anything I shared, understand that despite everything that I went through, I can't walk around with unforgiveness. I can't walk around with anger and hatred. There's everything that I've been through, because that would make me even more miserable. The reason I'm miserable now is because my circumstances are horrible. And it's all because I trusted a God that does not exist. So, love you. Las Vegas year is coming up. Drinking my water, and this is Star. She will comfort me tonight as we watch television. I'm curling up and trying to get some rest. Hopefully I'll feel better tomorrow. Take care and good night.